this is what you all submitted. One of the avant-garde submissions, I would say. This is the one I promised last time that I would turn into a like an avant-garde comic, or at least an avant-garde story. And we don't really have a story in mind yet, but I do want to kind of explore options with you all really quick. So if you have ideas that you kind of come up with, please post them in the chat. I'm curious to hear what sort of worlds or things that we want to explore, or at least the stories we want to tell. And I'm just going to expand this canvas out a little bit. And the reason being is that the details are a little too close to each other. I can't easily highlight and select this character. And now I'm just going to start separating things out a bit arbitrarily, be able to make this more selectable, and we'll turn this into a slash prefer value that I can just write in there. So I'll just clean that up, and just to make it a bit easier, I'm also going to give it a flat bottom on that. The reason being is that you want to make sure that your selections don't have excess space on the bottom, because otherwise that might infer that it's like a comic panel or whatever. So instead, I try to make sure I always select into the pixels of the character up until about here. If I were to, include just this would be far more usable and repeatable than if I just did this, like that little extra white. This will be one selection here. And I'll go ahead and pull that a little farther out. And then I'll do the same thing here and delete any little noisy bits that we see. And you can see that it kind of did that too already for us, because if you look at the top here, it's also cut off, which is, indicative of a lot of these kind of, less traditional characters. But I'm just separating it out so that it's easier for me to box select this. In fact, I need to make sure I don't select the hair there. And I can now bring that more to center there. And same with this, I am just going to bring this as far to the right as I can. So, okay, now it's a lot easier to work with. So I'm just going to use generative fill really quick and try to see if I can fill these little tips here. The thing about a Photoshop beta, and this is pretty cool, it refers on the entire canvas, right? So like sometimes you don't have to write anything at all to get a usable result, because it refers onto other parts of the frame. So look at that. It made the highlight at the end of the tip match the other one here. And there you go. We have our little spiky horn there. That's the third option. And it referenced that because it saw it on that one. Isn't that cool? So now that I have, okay, these are confirmed here, I can now come into here, do the same thing. Again, I'm not writing anything. Ideally, I'm not writing anything. I'm relying entirely on Image Interrogator to do this. And I don't know if that's the right kind of phrasing there, but look at this. Look at that. Just instantly get, like, I'm going to keep that. Like that's a fun result. And now I will do the same thing here, but this time I'm going to expand the canvas up. And now I will simply finish up the last spikes here.
One cool thing to know would be backstories behind some of these characters.
Right. So the backstories would be fun to see you guys explore. Like what do you think this character is doing? What is her emotional state? What are all these things are going to come into play for what we're doing here. And you can see that we kind of lost a little bit of that. So I'm going to try to write spiked horns on here and see if I get anything else from that. I'm going to try not to focus a lot on Photoshop beta, y'all. I'm just trying to make quick fixes here. Okay, there you go. That's great. Let's go ahead and reduce this significantly. So I'll just grab this here, grab that, and grab that one there, and see if it lets me just kind of say, okay, now it's just too many spikes. Okay, let's see what we got. All right, that brings us at least a little bit closer. This is where I start to like do more like manual corrections and stuff, but I can always just try again and see what the results are of that. And if not, then I'm gonna pull out the pen and I'm gonna start cleaning things up traditionally. The whenever I start pulling out the pen, things get a lot faster. I can tell you that. Now, but not as fast as generative stuff, but it gets a lot faster in terms of my intention. So yeah, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna come into here only thing I'm doing is just blotting out what I don't want, right? So go ahead with something like that. Like that. And something like that. But you'll notice that the shading in, at least in this, if I just cut it off, I really don't replicate the final product, or at least the rest of the image here, because I don't have any of this dark element here. It's just a, you know, a hard line on that. So I'm going to drop my pen size here pretty good, make a new layer, and then match the colors that are nearby it and just start drawing that in and try to replicate what I deleted from there. And same with this. The thing about generative imagery in general, though, is that it has a lot of like chromatic aberration and other like kind of like effects that happen from, and you get less of them if you do style raw than if you just ran these as is. But we can at least say and define the shadowing a bit better by doing that. Just little lines, little dark lines that reference nearby. But you'll constantly, and this is the biggest difference between traditional color correction and generative color correction. Generative color correction will change dramatically because of subtle gradients between the hair, like the end of the hair, the beginning of the hair. Like these will not be the same color here. There'll be subtle differences. Even when you ask for vector art, it's going to do something similar to that. So I do have one part here that I need to fix, which is the horn that was cut off from me dragging that up there. So again, I'm just going to come into here and just do a little quick highlight and select here, and then generative filled out as well. And once I have this clean, I can then create a more dynamic turnaround or action poses based on what you guys have told me that you want to see this character doing. And there you go. I'm happy with that. Okay. Cool. So we have these now. I can now collapse this down, come over to our Discord here, and I am just going to start posting URLs. So we'll first grab our, in fact, I just noticed something. I just noticed one little area here, which is the tail at the end here. I need to fix. This will be quick. You can see that some of her tail is, it's actually part of her hair here. So I can come in and just selectively reduce this, take that out. Darn you. There we go. Okay. And yeah, I fight. I curse a lot more than I do on this stream. I promise you. When it comes to stream, when it just comes to the stuff. So, I'm a bit of a sailor's mouth normally, but I'll control it for today.
Good at
At least,
hiding it.
but at least this gets me a little bit of material that I can then shape back down to a tail, right? Sometimes you can just work off of like repeating textures and stuff and kind of make
Like
do
clay.
on that. Yeah, right. And so I'm gonna actually just say with a pretty big text here, just let's just do spiked tail and see if it. I will say that a lot of the Photoshop beta stuff, this may look really impressive because I'm like small selectively improving areas. It is awful. It is awful at doing anything that is big at all. It just looks like clip art. Like there's so much clip art inside of Photoshop beta. And with the eraser tool, I can just kind of come into here and start rebuilding some of this tail, something like that. Obviously, you didn't need generative fill to do a dark little spot like that, but I can now come in and copy the nearby colors and just start to draw them back in like this. Something like that. And boom. It's a little too thick, so I need to come in and just kind of reduce that down a little bit. And with some blending modes and all that kind of stuff, especially like opacity applied to this, like Peter is really good at all this stuff, and I'm a novice in comparison to him, but I can at least take neighboring colors and start to like influence that with a low opacity. So then I can give it a little more form, a little more shape, just with that. And the original doesn't have a lot of this, so I'm not going to focus on it too much. But at least we have a tail now. Me and my wibbly wobbly line art. There we go. Just cleaning up little teeny details.
Beautiful.
There we go. Okay.
I was looking back on home movies, by the way, speaking of wibbly wobbly. And
Oh, yeah?
the other one that used that stuff was Dr. Katz, Professional Therapist.
Yes. What I'm going to do now, though, is inside of VC Create, we're actually going to create a quick little turnaround here, or quick character reference here. So let me actually pull this one out a little farther. I'm just going to quickly select, trying to get as close as possible to the character design here, because any extra white space I add is simply going to add more, kind of negative, or potentially add more negative space around the character. So I'm just going to paste that into Discord here and just include every one of them in Discord. This is basically the first stream that I did, but we are going to take one of the characters that were submitted so that we can then give this character some action and posing. Lastly, this one here. And again, I am going to try to make sure I cut off the the bottom of the marquee at the character, not below the character. Unless it's a full body, then you want to have the feet fully visible and stuff. So I now have these 4 images that I just send over to Discord. And the only reason I'm sending them to Discord is so that I get an easy URL out of this. So I can now select open these one at a time. Feel free to do this with me if you want. If you want to save this character for telling your own pages of the story, it'd actually be pretty fun for you guys to do that. So just follow along with me here. You want to make sure that you open all 4 of these URLs, and whichever one is the one you start with is going to be the strongest of them all. Okay, so we'll start with the full body here. And she's kind of jumping in this, like her feet aren't flat, but that's okay. We'll get away with it. So now we're going to take the URL from this one. I'll zoom in here so it's a bit easier. Take the URL, and then I'm going to write /prefer. And I'm going to name her Avant, just so that we know that this is the Avant character that we're going for. Avant, and then I'm going to hit the more here, and that will let me include a value. And now I'm just going to paste all the URLs as separate links. Like, you want to make sure that you hit spacebar between all the links here. And that is going to basically save this character to where I can always pull it up later as I need to. So now I'll hit save, and then boom. Now Avant is these 4 URLs. So I can now say comic panels, then avant-garde, experimental. Let's do Monster Girl. Nah, maybe not Monster Girl. I really should run a /describe on this character to really see who this is. But let's just do Forest Girl.
Except for Mahi, who said Dragon Girl.
Dragon Girl. Okay.
Let's do it.
If you are, I'll gladly make sure that you're in here. But let's just do Dragon Girl. And then we'll just see what that kind of gets us here. And then again, I'm going to use AR23. And we'll also check out some different styles, like put style 0 on there. I've noticed after Kinky told me to try experimenting with styles and stuff, if I set the style to 0, it's much more. I found it looking a whole lot more like Victor reliably, so that's pretty cool to know. But let's see what we get just off of raw, like trying to make some panels here that might evoke this Dragon Girl here. Dragon's probably going to be really too strong of a prompt for a lot of this stuff, because it's just it's going to be just a giant creature, right? So why don't we do something a little more indicative of the girl herself? So let's do
sorry, one word that I've used that gets me kind of dragon human hybrid, and I've only used it once and for no particular reason, but somebody asked me to make them a character, was Dragonborn.
Dragonborn.
Like
okay.
I don't know why, but Midjourney knows Dragonborn.
Got it. So why don't we try that? Dragonborn. And And then also, I gotta set the aspect ratio real quick. And then we'll try that again. And thanks, Ancient, for telling me about you could just press up and it repeats the last prompt. That's very, very handy. Let's see here. And then I'm just gonna do a silver-haired girl walking through the forest, just to give us something that maybe is a little more generic. But let's see. I'm just going to take a quick look at this here, and I'm not really getting anything that would be indicative of this character. It's really important that when we're doing image injections that we at least match the character silhouette as close as possible. We might need to tell her that there's a tail on this character, for example. But we'll see what we get. This is much more usable. So let me go ahead and drag that to the tablet so you guys can see. And so I immediately think that this is far more workable of a model, especially the top right here, where we don't really see a face, but we definitely see like the silver, like the whiter silver hair. I love this bottom right one though. It's so cute, and the bag and everything like that. It may not work for this model because if we compare that now, we really want to find something that has some sort of similar sort of drapiness, a dress and stuff, and we will likely have to prompt that in there. Actually, write this character description in there. So I won't do the one with the bag, even though it is pretty. But I'm gonna say now a bit more descriptive of a version of what we wrote here. So I'm gonna write. Let's do silver hair girl walking through the forest, and then add rooted horns and tail, or like dragon tail maybe. And a dragon's gonna be too strong again. Let's just do tail and a dress. Just so we can get a little more of a silhouette that kind of matches this character a bit more. And the idea here is if we can get one that looks really good, then we just keep expanding until we got the whole comic. Like that's the really fun part about all this. And I think the top right one's going to work. So we're going to take a look at this. Because we're definitely getting a bunch of chibi characters with horns, and that's what I want to see. Okay, look at that. That is cute. That is very cute. The bottom one here, the bottom left one's probably going to come out great. I'm seeing some really fun chibiness from this too, and the chibi will probably distort a lot of our results, honestly, because we're going to get mostly there. We'll probably do really well with some of these here, but let's inject all of these. Screw it, let's just do it and see what we get out of that. So I'm going to come over here, and now I like to upres all of them all. You don't have to. You can just use variation, which I believe is variation strong by default. But I'm going to upres all of these. So I'm just going to now write avant on the front there. Submit that. I'm going to do strong on all of them just so we get an idea before we get into the subtles. Because the subtles, the closer the model is in the first and the word only prompt that you get, the better the subtle results are. The less they are matching, the more likely you're going to be clicking strong just to force it. So let's go ahead and write avant here. All right, yeah, we're already getting some great results out of this. So I want you guys to jump into VC Create really quick, okay? And take a look at the variation strongs of this and tell me that that's not the same character. Obviously things have to get fixed or repaired and stuff, but yeah, we basically nailed it on this one already. So very cool to see, but this is not a story. This is just matching images right now. So if we want to tell a story, we could either pan left, pan right, start exploring different, exploring the environment, or start injecting other characters. But let's go ahead and find one that kind of evokes at least a little bit of the emotional side of this character here. I think if we go for this third one here, we can now expand on this in a way that I think is going to give us some really great results just by zooming out and doing the custom zoom as well. So let's do 1 for the zoom, and then switch this to 3 so that it's 3 times as tall as it is wide, and we'll see how that goes. While that's running, I am also going to do the variation subtles. So we'll go ahead and write avant, that one, and into this one. Again, you really do have to fall in love with the images that you get in order to really have the motivation to dig through all of the different kind of mangled versions that this might make by doing subtle. But when you do find that one gem, man, is it worth it? Like, it really is. Okay. That should be good here. We'll see what that does. With the variation subtles, we're getting, it's preserving the chibiness whenever there's a chibi character in there. It's preserving the hair length whenever this is why it's important to match the silhouettes as close as possible. But I'll just zoom in on this one real quick here. And so we are already digging through this this potential like chibi version of this character, right? Like, look at that. That's cute. There's just a lot of potential there for this. And so when we start to expand on these canvases, though, look at that. Just like a spooked. I got scared by something in the forest. This gives us a starting point for the story, right? It gives us an idea of saying, oh, maybe there is something in the woods for her to react to. Maybe there is something for her to go into. So, we have a bunch of really fun little reactions. The tails get lost. They don't look like dragons anymore. In a lot of these, they look like fuzzy tails. But not really too surprised on that one. But we can go ahead and start to select some of these and start building a proper comic out of them. But I want to explore a little more. So let's see what we got here. So this is another one where we did this was the style expressive from Kinky. And like we got a lot more of this like little girl avant. Write that in there, hit submit, and then we'll do that with strong as well. So this is essentially how I keep deep diving into different compositions and stuff in order for me to be like, oh, okay, that inspired me to do something. That inspired me to take this somewhere. So yeah, exactly. Just to kind of put them together, we can now start to construct this comic in a way that may show at least a variation of emotions, going from maybe a jolly walk to being spooked by like a bug or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, it would be kind of funny to see this like monster magical dragon girl scared by a tiny bee or something like that, right? So we might do something like that. But if I now scroll through here really quick, take a look at some of this here. This was doing a variation strong on Kinkies. Like, you see how dramatic it changed the comics and the paneling here. But it's the character. Like, it really is. It's really cool to see that. But what we can do is we can pick our favorites from here. Right. Expressive's great for that. It really is. But I will say, it's really great for women. For men, I found it just turns all the men into Jim Carrey. Like the number of times I've actually gotten like I don't know, like a giant smiling kind of goofball guy that just reminds me of Jim Carrey super hard. Cool. So with variation subtle, though, you can see that again, we it tries to find a middle ground between the two, and it's just not really giving us what we want in terms of keeping that character continuity, like all through here. I am going to upres one that I know is going to work. Okay, and it's going to be the top left one here. This one is this one branching off of your? Okay, this one's branching off of this one here. Okay, so we started with this. You can see here that there's a couple things off model. I mean, it's just got like this kind of shawl or anything like that here. But the main thing I wanted to show was that these panels are clean. They're very clean. We clearly see there might be a character to the right. So let's do let's pan to the right, and then we'll write like a cute bumblebee, and then also Niji, just so we can see what results we get out of this here.
So we won't get a swarm of cute bumblebees that way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it could also be like, is she gonna fight the bees? Is she gonna like what's gonna happen? You know what I mean? Like, is she gonna run away cowering? Is she gonna discover her true power because of a bee? Like, like there's so many potential kind of like funny things you can do. And this is what I was alluding to on the last stream, where it's like, what if Ronald McDonald was there? You know what I mean? Like, I love the idea of just doing random injections and letting absurdism take over. Um, it's my favorite kind of humor. Is absurdism. I love just being like, yeah, okay, that was a great argument, but have you seen this duck? You know what I mean? Like, that just it's I don't know. I like the same dumb jokes 10 times over. I apologize, but wow, actually, wow, we're getting some really cool stuff out of this already. Let me go ahead and bring that up a bit so you guys can see. Tablet. So, it's like she's looking at a flower, right? And now we just need to tell her that, like, I could easily Photoshop a little bee that sits on that flower while she's looking at it, right? And I can steal a frame from this one in order to see her kneeling down. And essentially, now we just need to prompt an emotion out of her. Okay. So let's go ahead and write an up versus one. Oh, cool. Someone else is let me pop over here while this is going on. Someone let's see here. Ancient Chaos ran his and then, oh wow, that's cool. I like that. That's pretty fun.
What is the
Um I don't know what's going on there, but it's
still
like a
do stuff
superhero
together?
version. Yeah.
Yes.
Um Okay, so if you see here, we have this really cute composition. I could just put a bar. Actually, let me pull. Yeah, I could easily put a bar right here and split these two panels in Photoshop. No big deal. But let's go ahead and make this square. And the reason why I'm making it square is because it then lets me have all four pan buttons back very quickly. And maybe we can still use this stuff. But I do think that whenever you see this kind of empty space here, this kind of acts like an aesthetic plate. It kind of acts like something that can go, oh, okay, I need it to match this style. I need it to match this environment. Like, whatever. It's not actually thinking those things. It's just looking at the pixels and going, yep, that should
It's
work.
helpful.
Yeah, but it is very helpful to have a little square that shows just the environment, almost like an establishing shot, if you want to talk about traditional film. And I know that I feel like I'm going to stretch this stream twice as long as if I start getting into filmmaking, but um, a lot of the filmmaking terminologies are going to come in handy when it comes to building your final kind of story, especially when you can prompt them individually and then Photoshop or edit them into the final product here. So now that we have a square version of it, I want to find the one that has the least amount of black bars because I don't want that to repeat. So we're going to pick the bottom left one. And again, you guys could easily, you could easily narrate this however you like. But you see, I got all four buttons back now. So only thing I got to do is hit down, and then write her name, Avant, and then let's actually put her in the back because it's all about order. So I'll put her in the back. A cute bumblebee. She is scared by a cute bumblebee. And I could even say like bumblebee close up and see what we get out of that. And just for
face.
Yeah, right. I'm thinking of just like, okay, the only reason I'm using a bee here is because there's a well-known episode of Invader Zim where the only thing that ever really defeats him, right? Like that truly is his mortal enemy is a bee, like a random bee that's in that crashes his ship. And it's such a stupid idea, but it's great. And even if I just focus more entirely on her, so it's like scared oh my god, like I like to like write a bunch of like random phrasing related to like what you would say in that moment, right? So it's like scared, spooked, oh my god, it's got hair, Or oh my god, it's got legs or something like that. Just some sort of it's gonna say legs. It's gonna be way too long with legs. I'll just do oh my god, and I'll just do that. And then do style expressive. And the reason why is just because Kinky did it earlier, and I think that that would be fun to see if we get any kind of result that might be more in line with a girl scared by a bee. So and then while that's going on too, we can do the same thing but with customized zoom. Where the problem, really the only real negative with this is it's going to add panels on the top and bottom. So if we give direction about a bee, it could be that the bee is flying into the frame and then shows up at the end of the comic as well. So I'll just do um, forest establishing shot, a bee flying into frame, forced perspective. Forced perspective is going to make whatever would normally be very tiny very big in your frame. I love forced perspective as a prompt. And then I'm going to switch this from 1 to 1, 2, and then hit the zoom at 1. And we'll go from there. Forced perspective, though, is a super fun prompt, especially if you really need it obvious that a character is holding something. Like a forced perspective of a character holding a sword, right, is going to make the sword kind of look like it's pointing at the audience. Okay. It could be really tough sometimes to narrate that kind of stuff or have that direction, that sort of composition, and get the results we want. So let's take a look at the first one, which is scared, spooked, oh my god, as the result here. And I don't really know how much we got. Let's see. I'm just taking a quick little look. See here. Yeah, we didn't really get what I was aiming for with that one. Not too surprised. I put a little too much voice acting, I guess, inside of that one. But we do have a cute little character that's right here, and some kind of like something I could with a lot of work I could manipulate that to look right. But I'm not going to worry about that. Let's go ahead and see what else we got. This one was the zoom, I believe. And so holding fruit. Oh, look at that. She's spooked. She's spooked on this one here. Maybe we can make her more spooked, but the emotive lines are there, so that's really cool. And we just generally didn't get a scared character, and it most likely is because the image references that we're giving doesn't include a scared character. So why don't we make a scared version of this character? Because that's how we fix this. That's how we fix this problem. If you're not getting the emotional range that you want, that's because the character sheet doesn't include that emotion. And I'm not saying I intentionally did this, but that's kind of what's going wrong here in terms of what we need to kind of evoke here. Because right now she's happy, and she's just kind of like like stock basically. So now we need to make this character scared. And in order to do that, this is really cute, by the way. I do like what folks are doing in the chat. What we can do is say full body turnaround. I'm going to pop us back over here.
Lissy asked, first, the Purple People Eater said, how much longer does the event have? And then I said, not much, with a sad face. And then he had a sad face, which I was glad for, because I wasn't sure if he was like, how much longer is this going to be?
Yeah. You never really can tell sarcasm or intention.
I'm bummed about it.
Yeah, I mean, look at this.
Lizzie said, well, you were using it, and I said, well, you're supposed to. You're supposed to play with the images. You just need to use the letter A. And then Ancient Chaos put the Invaders in B on the screen.
Good.
And then John, the Purple People Eater, was sad because he said he always shows up late to these things. Every Friday, John, 4:00. Don't be late.
Yeah, and it'll be something too that especially if my stuff starts to blow up again on like Reddit and stuff, I'm sure that I'm going to be a lot more like reactive to some of the stuff that's happening right now, right, as opposed to like just kind of doing demos and workshops. Yeah.
I know the people that weren't members could used to go to the David ones. Maybe you could I don't know if they're allowed to come here or not. Maybe we should think about that later. Guests. to watch
let's
you do
see.
this.
Yeah. I mean, there's also, I can also simul stream, right? So like if I wanted to, I could have a Twitch stream that's available to the public, that can be going at the same time. So we can see what works there for that. But I'm gonna do full body turnaround. What were the words that worked well last time? So let's do silver hair girl walking through the forest. So we'll do silver hair girl, and then rooted horns tail dress. That's what came up well enough for us anyway. So I'm just going to prompt that first without Niji because I accidentally hit enter too quickly. And then I'll add Niji to that. Yeah, I personally really love injecting Niji characters into non-Niji scenes. They just look really fun.
Steve Barrett's asking, does force perspective work well in MJ with photorealism?
Yes, it does. It works just fine. At least in my experience, especially when I needed a character to be like, take a look at this, and it's just them showing another character an object, right? Force perspective is amazing for that. Force perspective is also how you can like get like a bullet flying in the air because you can say a force perspective of a bullet, right? Like things like that will let you do some pretty fun prop stuff as well. And so I'm because you can see with the turnaround that I got here, it doesn't match the colors too much, and that's going to kind of screw things up. So I'm now going to try to hone in this character really quick. So let's go ahead and write red dress, red and black dress, and yeah, we'll just see if we get something better with that. I just much rather than waste Joel's time trying to inject into something that might work, but I think we could do better than that.
Asking, are there any other prop focus prompts?
Let's see. Prop focus. I know that a lot of people want props, and I get that for sure. But so whenever I was trying to like get things to be flying around the space, like like I wanted someone to throw like a nunchuck or like a I don't know, just something into the air. A lot of times the prompts that I would end up doing would just be dodging. Like he's moving out of the way, he's jumping, he's flying or whatever. It's the idea being that I would then prompt the prop separately and then Photoshop that in, right? I got a cool one that I can't really show, but it involves using like like an AK, right? And like shooting bullets and stuff. I needed to draw the bullets in order to show where those bullets were going to go because MJ is not going to generate the muzzle flash that I was expecting from that. There's always traditional solutions at the end of the day, like prompting the prop on its own,
But a lot of that's going to be fixed with the storytelling aspect coming up soon too.
Neat. I'm stoked to see anything. You guys keep blowing my mind with every update, so like I'm stoked to see what kind of comes out of it there. But
just
essentially,
guessing, but I think a lot of it will be.
Yeah. What I'm gonna do is just put Avant into this turnaround here, and see if we can try to be able to redirect this. Ideally, I would scroll back up and find the original prompt that was made with this, but because these are characters that you guys submitted, I have to retro engineer them like this. Ideally, you could just go back to your original turnaround, whichever prompt that was, and just expand on those. But this is already coming out great. No problems. Isn't this amazing? Like this is just blowing my mind every time that I do this stuff. That the fact that I can just it really is. It really is that I can just bring the character back from virtually nothing. And the only reason why this is working is because I have a monkey brain, and that monkey brain is presetting some of the limitations for this massive, library. That's it. That's all that this is. So yeah, right. So let's go ahead and do this first one here. And now we are going to inject the emotion we want to have. Do a pan left And then I'm just going to remove the images entirely and do scared, spooked, worried, frightened. Oh, that's the word I'm looking for, is frightened. That's what it was. Okay. Frightened, scared. Let's do scared chibi face, just to make it so that we're like trying to tell part of the story here. Scared chibi face. Spooked full body. And we'll see if by removing the URLs, because it'll dominate, the image weights are very, very heavy in Midjourney. Very, very, very heavy. So it's very, at least in Niji, at least, you don't have control of image weights. You just have to kind of like wing it when it comes to some of these, how strong the words are there. I believe you can more than welcome to use, weights on the words, but you cannot change the image weights with Niji. And style expressive would probably help here too, honestly. But we definitely got chibi. We definitely got the chibi version of this character, and I think this might work. So we'll see what the results we get. And again, we can always just refresh this indifferently. Okay. All right. Let's take a look. I think we're gonna need a little. Yep, we're gonna need a bit of a drum roll here because we got it. I'm gonna. Let's see. Go to tablet here. Take a look at that. We have her scared. We have her spooked, shocked. We have her like all these work. Literally all of these basically work for what we're aiming for here. And look, even a reaction of her. Now the dress is different. The dress is slightly different because we were injecting into something that's not absolutely perfect. I probably would have re-rolled the turnarounds a couple times. But I mean, look, y'all, that isn't that amazing? Like, we're able to say very quickly that we want to change the emotional states of these characters. And if I had the original turnarounds, it would be even easier. I would just double back to those turnarounds. Okay. So I'm going to open up Photoshop here. And we're going to grab that panel that worked from earlier. Grab that, open Photoshop, copy this. Now, you don't actually have to upres anything. That's, because it's not actually upresing. These are all full res as the 4 panel. So you can just copy this, assuming your computer, the clipboard's big enough for it. Copy this image, go to the Photoshops or whatever your image manipulator is. And now, ideally what you're going to do is you're going to bring this character back to your original turnarounds, okay? So we're going to take what we like from this, and we can essentially start to build a new image library. As long as it matches the character design, then it'll work. But until then, we need to actually bring the design back to match the character art more. And I'll show you guys how we do that. And then we'll inject it back in with the new direction, and boom, we have the comic after that. I really like this one. This one came out just great for our purpose. Especially, I love this chibi profile. That's so cute. But now I'm just gonna select all of this, being careful not to select any other part of her. And if I was doing this for a real, for my own projects, I would take the time to isolate as many of these as possible, because the results just look great on this, I'm very happy with this. But we can come into here and just kind of start selecting. Okay. And I'm going to do one more over here of her like that. It's just too cute not to isolate. Okay. All right. That should be enough for now. You can go tons. You can go so deep into this, guys. But all right, now you'll notice very, very clearly where the differences are in the character design, particularly if the tail was lost, but it doesn't really matter because we'll be able to bring everything else back. So I'm just going to now drag these so that they all have their own little space on the canvas. And basically that's going to become my emotional plate, like my emotional section. If I need this specific emotion spooked, boom, I have all my keyframes for, and I call them keyframes because that's what we would call them in the animation industry. But they're effectively, I mean, they're kind of keyframes. It's kind of hard to use traditional terminology for this stuff. So yeah, but what I can do though is wherever this kind of like blocked out, I want to make sure I remove that. And now that I have these mostly isolated, bring that up so it's easy to select. Okay. Bring that one up too. There we go. I'm going to give it a nice white background here. There you go. And now, instead of using the instead of using the slash prefer option I made for Avant, I'm gonna make a new slash prefer option for her, and this is gonna be Avant scared. Okay, so what we can do is we can just work off of these images as is, but there's gonna be inconsistencies, and the inconsistencies come from the fact that the new reactions or emotions are with a white hair and not this kind of tealy color. I know to avoid that issue is just going to be as simple as bringing the color of the hair back to the color that we have here. So it's as simple for me as going here, select. I know what that color is now. It's right here. Accept that. And now I'm going to use, smash this all down here. I'm just going to use this highlight select here and start grabbing the hair. Again, this is Photoshop specific. Photoshop has some pretty good, selection tools and stuff, but you don't have to use Photoshop. For me, this is the program I was trained with. So that's the one I use.
You can use a
So,
Google Doc for, I mean,
oh yeah.
honestly.
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. You can use anything that lets you edit an image. It's fine. So now I have this very roughly laid out here. I think that if I was doing a Photoshop tutorial, like a proper one, I would show you guys how to use blending modes because that's like the kicker, right? That's the thing that makes you like really good at this stuff is actually knowing what these do. And so I'm gonna go to color, and boom, it's the right color. Isn't that amazing? It all just comes down to knowing what the options do and why you would use them, right? So like certain blending modes only allow certain levels of luminance through. So that means, I can go, if I have a dark scene, then I just use darker color as my blending mode, and it will only show through the darkest elements of that. And now my character's baked in shadow. Like little things like that are awesome. And you really only get them by experience, honestly. So because I have this layer is set to color, as long as my marquee is clean, I can just keep marqueing.
If all you
Go
had is
ahead.
Discord, you could just make a whole server for your character and then make rooms for the expressions that you cropped out too. And then those could
Right,
be your
yeah.
URLs.
That's actually a really good idea. So I use channels as ways to progress, right? Like I have 4 different lodges, as I call them, because I'm a big Twin Peaks fan. So I had to call them Black Lodge,
Okay.
White Lodge, that kind of thing.
Love it.
Um, and so I'm very inspired by Twin Peaks when it comes to the idea of tulpas and egregores and all that stuff. So the lodges are where all my AI generated stuff gets born. And if you're familiar with Twin Peaks lore, it's that'll make a lot more sense. But essentially, the kind of thing I'm aiming for though is that each channel is meant to be like, if I get another tangent in my ADHD scatterbrain, then I can just go to a different lodge and suddenly I'm in a different kind of mindset than I was in before. So it helps me parse out what is and what isn't, part of this project or not. It could get very confusing when you start talking about a whole lot of different projects going on at the same time. After we have this in there, though, I do want to. I do have a little something that I was able to make using the pan features. I don't have it done. I already showed it to Kinky, and I won't show the video version of it yet. Yes, it's a video, but it is something that I am excited to kind of show because the combination of Midjourney and video AI is going to be like is just so big. It literally is so big. I'm so stoked for it. I just don't know how much I can really say about it right now. So I'm not going to.
Amazing.
I can say that
Let
it will be cool.
I'm glad you checked it out. I'm glad you checked it out. The I'm a big fan of at least like taking in like inspiration in the moment, right? And yeah, I kind of went ham on the whole Catboy thing. So like it was a lot of fun. We're almost done here though.
So
Almost
good.
done. Let's see here. Now I'm just going to select the final little bits of hair here. And remove the skin. She kind of has like a moo, like cow ears in some of these. So I would probably go in and delete those if I was really trying to finesse this. A lot of times the AI can kind of figure out what you mean though. Like at least and I hate saying it that way. I hate personifying AI stuff, but that's basically that's an easy way to say it. It'll figure it out. It won't have too much trouble. But you'll notice here
Finding
that
it.
I actually I got it on the sleeve here. So I'm just gonna come in and actually delete that from that. And this is the benefit of using blending modes is you don't have to worry about if you know which blending mode you're using and why you're using it, you don't need to worry about like the line art at all because you know that you're just affecting that specific, color or hue. All right. I'll skip on the tiny chibi one on the bottom there or on the top right there just so that we
Oh,
can move on. But isn't that cool? We have all of
so
our
cool.
reactions now. And so what I can do now is this is also going to effectively make it like a cowboy in terms of the shot position here. But let me drag that open a little bit bigger here. Drag that down. And then there we go. Okay. So I will come in and smother it all together. And now what we're going to do is we're just going to object select or marquee select the reactions we think work the best here. And if I really want to get in there, I can come in and with the blue now really clean up that hair how I want it to look. Because that the selection tools are not perfect. They don't cover everything. And frankly, if you rely on them too much, you're going to make so many more mistakes. Like I almost submitted half of a blue face to Midjourney and didn't even realize it because I didn't zoom in. Like little things like that are you're going to be really frustrated if you like get, 3 or 4 pages into a comic and then realize that your character art was wrong in one of them. So it's really important to like hone this in now because then you won't have to worry about it later. And really start making some pretty cool stuff with this.
And they swear to God it's easy. Everybody
It
swears
is.
that like using AI to make stuff is so easy. But like it does take a lot. Like it's you have to know how to prompt. You need to like inspect everything because you didn't pencil it. I think I think
Right.
it I think it has its own difficulties, and I think that
Well,
it
I
means
think
that
I
it's
think also
easy to
that
overcome.
yeah, I think that a lot of it comes down to that kinky when it comes down to like if you give an artist a pen, like a digital tablet pen and then a traditional pen, they go, okay, these are compatible. They make sense. They there's a the transference of a skill makes sense here. But when it came to like, a lot of like especially like stable diffusion and stuff where you have all these like different like plugins and mods and nodes and different things that people have, it gets suddenly a lot more complicated for people.
They felt
And
gate kept.
yeah, exactly.
I have a question for you, if you want to
Sure.
hear it. Are you
I would
ready?
love to hear it. Yeah.
Podcast Babe wants to know: does size variance make any difference in the character sheet? What causes the faded ghost versions when creating variations of characters? Or maybe it happens in panning? Question mark.
It happens a lot in zooming, and I feel like it happens because whenever an artist is drawing like character concept sheets, they kind of do these thumbnails, these little mock-ups of the characters, and those thumbnails are usually drawn with whatever pencil or pen or charcoal or whatever people are kind of whatever they prefer as their medium for doing quick sketches. And then the final piece is finished. They do line art, they do color, they do everything. They might even just do that part digitally and then leave the sketches around the character in the background. And it's most likely referring to just that habit from concept artists doing that. You also don't really need to care too much about the composition when you think about concept art. You just need to show the character clearly.
Right. Do you remember when a lot of people would get the desk when you have a drawing of whatever it would be, but it would show a desk with pencils and pens around it. I think that's kind of the same thing, where it's artifacts from like creating art or what they think an artist would do.
Yeah, it's also really funny when there was a period of time between the hands of the Puffy Pope. I love how we're going to be able to document AI imagery so vividly because we have like these really weird indicators. We have a timeline, and the timeline between like, you know, people complaining about hands of the Puffy Pope it is in line with that. I'm sorry, I just distracted myself by saying Puffy Pope, but what did you say just before that? Just remind me.
The artifacts, like from.
Yes, artifacts. That's it. Thank you so much. That's the word I needed. Between those two periods, there was a time when they were saying like there was artists taking pictures of their like portraits or their artist works, and they were showing themselves in the portrait, or they were showing the tools that they used to make it as kind of like a scuff at AI imagery, because they were like, you know, this is proof. This is the way that you prove that this is artist work, is you just show the canvas more, right? You zoom out, you walk backwards. Yeah, or a signature or whatever. I was like, just prompt with art supplies next to it, and it generates the person like standing with their art supplies and all that stuff, and it just looks dead on like what they were arguing. Okay, all right. So I finally got this cleaned up to where I'm happy with it. The face is all clean. There's a little bit of blue, a little bit of like, you know, some bleed here and there that I'm not really too worried about. But what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna collapse this in, and like that, and add a white background so that everything is nice and clean. Her hair is actually cut off on here, and I could run a generative fill and try to fix that, but instead I don't need to. I can just come here and marquee this. I know that part of the question was about negative space around the character. When you're injecting your character and your character just takes up a ton of the picture, right, and much more than what you were injecting into, just use a much bigger marquee around the character. So like you could make an entire character sheet where this pose right here is actually much smaller from what you select. So like, for example, if I was to do that really quick, just to show for demonstration. Okay, so we have this as one sheet here. Boop, boop. A little bit of a tangent here, but it's important. So you have this, but a pretty moderate size box around it. That's fine. The character is going to be referenced like that. But if we now come into here and shrink this down to something like here, and then use about the same size marquee, okay, and then paste that in there. If you use the right image, if you use this image where she's much smaller into your injections, it's going to come out way better, assuming that that's what you want. You want a small version of the character in the frame. This is how you control the image injections, is by controlling the negative space around the character. Okay. So at least how you get it there like 70% of the time. The other 30% is just kind of like, you know, whatever kind of came up. But okay. So now that I have that, I'm going to return the character sheet back. There we go. And I am going to select these different emotional states, and again, remove any marquee parts that I just don't want to reference. So I don't want to reference this kind of bell shape that's in her belly here, because otherwise it might just cut that off. So I'm just going to leave this as a flat thing there. So I will now come in like that and make it a nice clean line. There you go. And again, I want to make sure I cut the hair off too. Boom. And there you go. Now this is ready to copy and paste into Discord. And I'm just going to do that to the three major 3 or 4 major emotive ones that make the most sense for this scene. I am oftentimes injecting different images. I'm oftentimes exploring what it means to see what sort of limits we have with this, which means including more negative space, including more like character facial reactions, whatever it ends up being. But now that I have all of these, I should be able to just select and open all 4, and we can confirm that they all look right. They don't have any excess white space and underneath them or anything like that. And now I can make /prefer option set, and then I am going to write avant underscore spook or spooked. I'll just write spook, make it easy, and then more. And now inside of the value here, I'm going to copy and paste all those URLs that I had. So we'll start with let's see. Yes, okay. I'll start with this one. Space. Copy paste this one. Space. Copy paste this one. Space, and then copy paste this one. Okay. And here's how you like really like hone in, like, okay, this is I want to make sure I can use this in the future, right? Is you can actually go back to your full bodies, right? Where is actually this one here? I can go back to the full body here. In fact, I'm going to just pull this off of this URL here. So now that I have this, I can now include that at the end of these chains of URLs, so that even with the wrong emotion, quote unquote wrong emotion that's on there, at least it has the reference for the rest of the body inside of the URLs. Okay. So now, after all of that, I would imagine that an anchors update will essentially let you pre-bake these characters in there and then have all them, kind of do this kind of thing. But essentially what we'd be looking at is we got to go back to that prompt that we liked. There we go. Now we hit down, and now I'm going to put scared by a bug.
Scared by a bug.
Scared by a bug. And we'll put the avant spook, which is the the /prefer we made. And if for any reason /prefer is kind of confusing or anything, you could just copy and paste the URLs. There's nothing wrong with that. And if we still don't get what the results we want, we can include the words comic panels in the front or back of the URLs. We can just really play around with this, until we get what we want. A lot of the stuff you guys are going to see me do is picking the first generations of things. And that's actually the least likely thing I'm going to do when I'm doing this stuff on my own. It's more often than not that I'm like re-rolling into oblivion, like just seeing what happens. But the idea here is that as she generates here, we're going to be able to kind of nudge the results in whatever direction we want. But it's we could even do a pan where it's just focused on the bug itself, and just kind of see what we get out of this. I have no idea how Midjourney prompts bugs in Niji, if everything just kind of looks like a war beetle or whatever, but I'm curious.
So the bug be like, what's her problem?
Right. Let me take a. Okay. Yes, we got it. Okay, let me pull up tablet here. Look at the bottom here. Look at that. Like she's got flowers in her hair now, which is very easy to remove. Her hair is white, which we can fix with the color correction. We can remove all this blue here with a quick fix. But I just love the fact that she's like, just like a little spook there. Look, we got some
a little
like
alarmed.
yeah, a little alarmed, nothing too crazy. But we have her pointing at the bug here. But look, yeah, I'm laughing at this one because it's like, literally like scared stiff, so that's fun.
Mouse.
Right, like sees a mouse, yep. And you could easily be like, I want to exaggerate the eyes and stuff and just redraw that in yourself. But I love this. I love how this one is started to come out here. I do think that a lot of these references being of her face here on the profile will create like more timid or more calm face. So let's try this. This is actually going to be pretty cool. So we can even double back even farther if we don't think the results we like are like, if we think that they're too derivative. So we can come all the way back and find the original prompt that we came up with here, okay? And now I'm going to let's not do custom. Let's just do a pan down. And now okay. And now I'm also going to not only scared bug, but I'm also going to do comic panels and say scared by a bug. Just really relying on that prompt right now. And then Avant spook. And we'll see what we get out of that. And again, we can always reroll. We can always see what kind of results we get. But most likely, we're going to get a lot less of the timid sort of reaction and much more of the like stereotypical anime like kind of like shocked face. And that's simply because, and I know that because there's less references now within the original canvas of that. Look at that. That is, look, there's a butterfly and she's scared of it. It's a butterfly. Oh, that's great. Oh god, a big dragon being scared of a tiny butterfly would be really, really cute, actually. Oh, I love it. Ah! It just jumped at me, like that kind of reaction. And look at that sort of like I'm a little embarrassed about my reaction to that butterfly. You know what I mean? Like that's what I interpret that as. And all of these can be some fun exploration of that. But she has little bug antennas in this one. Like that's too funny to me. How it does some of these mergers here. But look at this. Look, you got the little butterfly and her feet coming down there now. So you could be like, okay, here's the startup of the story. She's, like reminiscing or doing something. We could make her not looking at the camera. If there was a button to make the characters not look at the camera, I would love that. Like honestly, just make them look anywhere else except for at the camera, because otherwise it looks
break the fourth wall.
Yeah, this is too much. Okay, what was it? I forgot the name of it, but there's a term for never looking at the camera specifically. And if we could get that like pre-baked in there, that'd be great, because it is the one kind of grievance that I have with Eyeline, is that I can never. It's very hard to get characters to look at each other, or to have
like
honest
candid?
reactions. Yeah. Candid reactions, candid expressions. That is a great prompt to use for that. It's caught in the moment is another good one for that. There's a bunch of prompts related to kind of like blink before you miss it kind of stuff that refers to like how you would phrase a moment, So yeah, there you go. You got her scared and it's in comic panels and we're telling a damn story about a butterfly. So there you go.
You've done it. Congratulations.
I did it. I showed you how to make a continuous story in Midjourney comic books. Now I do have an idea. That I wanted to originally pitch to like Ancient and some of the other Midjourney folks here, if anyone's listening. But I know that the Midjourney magazine, I got 2 issues of it here. I would love to do a funny pages for the Midjourney magazine. Honestly, it might be a fun way to get people involved too. Like especially if we get a bunch of people going like, look, you could be at the last, you can be on the last page of the Midjourney thing if you just make something that makes us laugh. You know what I mean? Like, I think that would be a good idea, but maybe that's just me.
Such a cool thought.
But yeah,
I can talk to some people about it, see what we can do, if anything.
That'd be awesome. I would love to see it. But there you go, guys. I really wanted to show you just how you can direct comic panels with Midjourney to tell a story. And I know this story is very simple because I like didn't have a script or anything written ahead of time. I shoot everything at the hip nowadays. But yeah, just getting this convergence of there's a bug. oh my god, that is the intent. That is my artistic intent, is to show that. So I'm going to just upres that, and we'll just see what we kind of get out of making a comic out of this. But the last real like note that I'll make here is, if you are like almost 100% happy with the results that you get, you can also just zoom out and see the rest of the story kind of unfolding for you. Now, granted, there's no direction. There's no direction at all. We're just saying, hey, there's some images of a girl that's spooked, and she's scared by a bug as the direction. That's it. But if we, now make square, it's going to try to do some in painting on the sides here, but it'll have a lot less influence on the story, like what sort of paneling or story that we're doing here. So we'll do both there. And there's a lot of really fun kind of results we actually got from this chain. So feel free to kind of dig in and mess around with some of this stuff.
I'm kind of in love with Avant. I
Yeah,
fell in love
right?
with her through this whole process. She's a great
That's
little
great.
character. We don't
That's
even know her,
great.
but
And
we made up all this stuff about her.
right. I like the idea of just a character with an unknown potential. You know what I mean? Like she's clearly a
Yep.
dragon, like, kind of thing. But maybe she doesn't know what her potential is yet. That kind of story. But I did want to show really quick what happens when you hit zoom out on a bunch of comic panels that are mostly continuous. It's incredible, actually. Let's go ahead and pop us over to here and take a little look-see here. Look at that. It's just awesome. You suddenly have, yes, she is now merging with the butterfly in certain places, but this is completely fixable.
That's kind of sweet. I love it.
Right. And it's, yeah, so you have all this kind of like story that can be told kind of for you, and then you expand on what it means. Like, what's the intent there? This is largely letting look at that face. What the heck is that? What is that?
I love the string of periods. She's like dot 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 dot. She's just pausing before she says something.
Yeah, I think it's like pausing before a big scream. That's what I'm saying. Like
exactly.
Yeah. There's a lot of strain there. And then same thing with Sullivan Sean's one that he literally just rendered here. She's got the bug antennas, but you can always put the antennas back from whatever. But look at that. And that's just variation strong, right? Yeah, that's just variation strong.
She's kind of a butterfly in this one.
Right. Well, that's the thing. Because he hit variation strong and not zoom, it started merging the details because it's blending everything, right? And so being able to decide what the difference between an image injection and a blend or an image prompt is huge. Once you get that habit, I literally had, just from my last stream, I had 3 different people ping me going, I'm finally getting it. I'm finally understanding it. And it's awesome to be able to go, oh, this character can now expand. Yeah. My DMs are like I can't think of any joke that's not crass. But yes, it is certainly blowing up right now. There you go. All right. I think I'm gonna have to hold it off there for the demonstration workshop kind of part of this. I really like the results we got out of this. I love the fact that people are jumping in here. So yeah. One of the things I really do appreciate about this opportunity of being able to come in and do this stuff is that I also like the idea of being able to bring in other people's ideas. I personally have a lot of time with Midjourney, but I don't have a lot of time with actually storytelling. Like, I would love to bring a real script writer into here, and we could actually do more things than my stupid little absurdist comedy stuff. It is quite funny because I've talked to a couple of creative artist folks, and they're just like, but it looks so good, but your writing is just so mediocre. And I'm like, look, man, I'm not a professional writer, and I do my best, okay? And I would love to see more creative writers and other people talking about this stuff, but no one wants to work on an AI project right now that isn't their own. It's kind of like explaining your dreams to somebody. It's really interesting to you, but to everyone else, it's super not. But and you have to strike that balance with, especially in a working environment. So yeah. It's
I
it
would
is
work
something
on
that
it
I
with you.
no, and I appreciate. I'm trying to be candid about this
I,
stuff. You know what I mean? If it, at least in my experience, especially with how kind of contentious and random things are right now for AI imagery in general, um, I would anticipate that doing big group projects would be the real like secret sauce of making some really crazy stuff. Like we could literally have an entire graphic novel done by the end of one
yeah.
of these workshops if it was popular enough. Like if we simply had honestly, if during the office hours, if David just went, everyone click this button, then it would probably blow up. Like, you know, in a way that's like, okay, everyone hit Zoom at the same time and we'll see what happens. Like if it was something like that, we would probably get a whole graphic novel in 3 seconds. Um, is it going to be a good one? Probably not. Is it probably going to be something that we could use? Yes. So yeah. I want you guys to keep exploring and seeing what you can do with this one, but this is like just super fun. So, um, yeah. Anything else from the folks? I haven't hopped over to chat in a while, so I better open that up here
Seen
and get rid of
anything
this.
new except Lissy says that ChatGPT might be a decentish alternative to help organize and flesh out some ideas, just enough to work. Sai says, I missed so much tonight. I had to take my dog to the emergency vet. She'll be okay. I'll have to catch up on YouTube. This looks like some great info. Mahjong Boo says, a Niji story model where the characters look at different angles is a great idea. Sai says, MJ makes me laugh every day. I have a bloopers channel. Mahi says, thanks again, Victor. But Lucy said ChatGPT might be a decent alternative to help organize and flesh out. I've been doing that actually with my story, and I think you're right.
Mhm.
Like not having it write it, but helping me organize.
I saw when you flashed there for a second,
You
Ancient.
saw that too. It was
But
amazing.
but yeah, it is something that I'm
Peekaboo.
I meant to
yeah,
put it in text first, so that would have an explanation.
no, just jump scare us with spooky like Meat Canyon level Pikachu's there. Um, yeah, it's so I realized that one of the things that at least for me, whenever I'm using ChatGPT, I try to use it more as a utility, right? Like, so I'll use it for like I won't use it to write. I did that very briefly, like to mess around with the plot, and my friend, who is like one of my like hardcore readers, was like, "Okay, dude, if you want to get me to stop reading your stuff, don't use ChatGPT." And I'm like, "Okay, yeah, no, I get that, but I will use it for games. I will use it for like mind games, like where I'm trying to like construct something and I want more advantageous descriptors or more different like kind of spaces to explore, then yeah, I'll use ChatGPT to kind of expand what my limited vocabulary and do that. But it was actually not that bad of a script. He's just like, it wasn't you. And I can tell when it's not you. And I was like, I'm really glad that I sent this to you before I released it publicly because I was really, really okay with this script. And now I see all the flaws with it because I actually had a human being review it. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes you can just get
Exactly.
married to things and you don't really realize that, you know, things could have been better if they just had more eyes on it. Um, but yeah, let me take out look at this. Look at this. Surrounded by butterflies, scared as
That.
I love it. It's
Look
so
at
cute.
this.
Yeah, it's just awesome. Seeing these kind of stories where it's like maybe she's scared by the butterfly at first, and then suddenly, you know, a big wave of them comes out and they don't scare her anymore, and it's just a sign of triumph or something. Just some small little triumph for a little girl to do. I think is great. Um, please finish the comic for me because I'm a little too lazy and tired now. But yeah,
You should
it
have
is.
that ready for us by next week as homework.
Exactly, yes. Your homework is, and since you're on streaming mode, I can't really read your name, but the your homework is to finish a graphic novel. And I expect it due by tomorrow. And the scary part is you could do it. That's the scary part. Is the fact
I
that
bet you
this
could.
is I bet you could. I bet you could finish this off. It's scarier than that face you just posted. But yeah, it's It is certainly true, but yeah, I think I'm going to this is about half an hour or 45 minutes earlier than I did the last two streams, but I really appreciate your all's time, and this is something that I honestly think is what when David about I don't know what is this 4 months ago 3 months ago was alluding to something with Midjourney being in between, so that some in between medium, like not like television, not like books or whatever. This is probably what it's going to evolve into is these kind of organic comics, these organic visual novels, and it's all through panning and zooming. And I can't wait for the new tools. So the butterfly must represent memories. Squishy happy face. Yes, yes, for sure, for sure. Oh man. Oh well, thank you guys so much for joining. I really want to like come back. I would love to come back and like tomorrow morning or like maybe even tonight and stuff and just see how deep dived folks get in here. But I need to get some food in me.
And if
But
you get bored, we'll be in the VC chats too, so you can always come say hi.
oh yeah, for sure, for sure. And this is something where I do pop by outside of these streams. So you might see me, might maybe not. We'll feel free to say hey. But if you don't catch me, I do have a website,
Right.
victorgnarly.com. Where you can come by and check out all my socials on the top right if you really care about all that stuff. I honestly don't. I post to them, but if you are like, please follow me on Instagram, there's a very high likeliness that I will never see it because just send it to me. Just send it to me direct. I just really hate social media. Like honestly, I used to be a big Facebook kid, and this no. No more social media for me.
Mm.
So, but yes, all my socials are there. So whichever platform you prefer, I will update you there. So thank you so much.
Have a great night, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah. Later.